For section 8.2 part 1, we're going to look at exponential notation. In other words, we're going to look at converting from a number with an exponent that's a rational to a radical. So if you have a base that's written to an exponent that's a fraction, let's say you have a to the 1 over n, you can actually convert that into a root. And you can go back and forth between the two depending on what you want, depending on what's easier for you. And the way that you do it is that denominator, or that n, becomes your index. Basically, you can convert it this way. And like I said before, it just depends on which one's easier for you, which one you use. So for example, if I had 4 to the 1/2, well, I don't know what the heck 4 to the 1/2 is. I could actually convert that to the square root of 4. So this 2 becomes my index, and this 4 becomes my radicand. Well, I happen to know what the square root of 4 is. It's 2. In other words, 4 to the 1/2 is 2. You can also do it with cubes. Let's say that I give you, or fifths or fourths or whatever. Let's say I give you negative 32 to the 1/5. I don't know what negative 32 to the 1/5 is, but I can convert that to a fifth root. Popping that negative 32 in there, fifth root of negative 32 happens to be negative 2. So in other words, negative 32 to the 1/5 is negative 2. So that seems pretty simple. The question then becomes, what if there's a numerator? So for example, what if there actually is a numerator other than 1? What if you have something to the 2/3, or something like that? Well, there's actually two different ways you can do it. And I'm going to show you both ways, and we're going to work through both ways so you can see both of them. Both are correct. It's just going to depend on preference. The first way that you can do it is that m can actually go under the root. So you could actually take that numerator and add it on as an exponent under the root. The second way that you can do it is you can take that m and put it up here way on the outside after you do the root. So really it just kind of depends on the order of how you want to do things, where this fits in. So let's do a couple examples. For the first example, let's say I give you 36 to the 3/2. If I give you 36 to the 3/2, I don't know what 36 to the 3/2 is. So let's look at this first way first. So for the first way of converting it, the n is my denominator. The square root is going to actually go on the outside. The m, which is my numerator, which in this case is a 3, is going to go under the root with the 36. So this would become the square root of 36 cubed. Now if we actually wanted to simplify that, order of operations says we would have to do the number under the square root first. Well, 36 cubed is 46,656. What's the square root of 46,656? Well, it's 216. That would be my answer. In other words, 36 to the 3/2 is 216. And let's say that you don't like that way. 46,000 is just a little bit too large of a number for you. Okay, well, we could do it this way over here. And this way over here says, instead of cubing it first, like we did down here, actually do the square root first. Okay, so it says take the 36, it goes under the square root just like usual, but then take that numerator, or that 3 in this case, and actually put it way outside. In other words, do it last. So what's the square root of 36? Well, square root of 36 is 6. Carry over the cubed. What's 6 cubed? It's 216. So either way is correct. Either way gives you the correct answer. It's just going to depend on preference. Let's try another one. Negative 4 to the 5/2. Okay, well, the first thing that needs to be noted is this is negative. The only thing being raised to the 5/2 is the 4. That negative is not technically being raised to the 5/2. So in both cases, that negative is going to slide out here to the front and kind of stay out of our way for a little bit. In the first example, that square root, or that denominator, goes on the bottom, and the 4 goes under the root. Same thing over here. The only difference is where you put the numerator. In other words, where you put the 5. In this case, the 5 is going to go under the root. In this case, the 5 is going to go outside the root. Remember, both are correct. It just depends on the order you want to do things. So let's work this one out first. What is 4 to the 5th? Well, 4 to the 5th is 1024. What's the square root of 1024? 32, and then you would attach your negative. So I got a negative 32. Let's look over here. What's the square root of 4? It was 2. Okay, I'm keeping it in parentheses because I've still got to carry this negative way out to the side. What's 2 to the 5th? 32. Carry your negative down, I got negative 32.